All right, it is 6 p.m. and this is the Practice of Pastry, the POP Baking Club. And this week we are talking about getting ready for our cookie and confection box for the holidays, which sounds like, oh my gosh, why are you on to the holidays already? But we are not in the stage where we're baking necessarily. We are in the stage where we're thinking about what we're going to do. My name's Kathleen. I'm a certified executive pastry chef and I teach on social media, on TikTok, YouTube, and on Substack. And if you want to follow along with tonight's lecture, it's on Substack. And it's like 12 pages long. And I go through and I write down everything I can think of, everything I've collected through the years, all of the notes that I have, and I put them in one place. And tonight we are doing conceptualizing the best cookie and confections box, or at least the most thoughtful one you've ever done. The cookie and confections box is something that we all know about. A lot of people make them. We all receive them. And we have strong feelings about them. I myself have been doing the same recipes for quite a while. And even though they're really, really good, I thought, what if I start to follow some of the concepts that I've been thinking about and I've been writing down? What if I update it and I don't have to do it all at once, but what if I think about it? So between now and let's say Thanksgiving, when you really start hitting baking and cooking and you're really in the kitchen a lot, perhaps, is when you will start executing your plan. But right now, it's all theoretical. So we're gonna write things down and get concepts and theories and make a plan. When I talk about a cookie box, I talk about when someone hands you that Tupperware container full of family heirloom treats or a box or a tin of cookies. Sometimes people just for fun make up the cookies and they make a ton of them and they give them away. But a curated box is something either if you're in the cottage industry or doing something, out of your home that you want elevated and you kind of want to push yourself and think creatively and push your boundaries, then you're going to look at every aspect of this box, everything from the box to the theme, to the ingredients, to the colors, to a lot. Let's start with some of the concepts and then I'll show you what tools and supplies I use to support those ideas. The desired outcome for this box, for my box, when they receive the box, we want them to have a memory created. When I give you a box that I've thought a lot about, it's going to convey what I value, how I work, how I think, and how much I value our friendship. Because let's say I make a really cool box and baking right now is really expensive, so I'm not gonna make 100 boxes. And if I'm going to be giving them away, they're going to be precious. When you care about somebody, what you give them and your thoughtfulness shows them what you think about them. So this box should be something that is not just thrown into a pile that nobody remembers, that you open up, you're like, I don't know whose it is. All of them are the same. So there are tricks and things that I can tell you to help your box look as professional as possible. I want you to think about your box in terms of a theme. Don't even think about your recipes yet. Think about what are your favorite flavors, colors, times of year. What point of view do you want your box to have? Is it going to be that it's winter solstice, the holidays? What is it going to be? And then you start to think about how do I want to execute that so that everything is going along the same lines. So I say this, if you're throwing a party or throwing a wedding, if you determine what that one thing is at the top, every decision is based on that. So what I do is I try to keep it simple. So rather than thinking about what cookies I like and which are popular, I thought, why not take a concept and then draw the whole thing together? I am taking the idea of a della robbia. And a della robbia it's like decorative and it has fresh flowers, roses, and ivy, and grape bunches, and pears, and apples, and oranges. It can be very plum colored and rich, like gem colors. And then going from there into, what do those colors and flavors represent? So we're talking, for me, it might be rich, warm flavors. So then we get into the colors, maybe oranges and rich purples and browns and vanillas and things. What color do I want to wrap it with? Finding the box that you want to use is really important because you need to have elements that make that box look good when you deliver it. It doesn't let the fats transfer from the products inside. It has rigid edges. It's easy to open and close. It looks good. Maybe it has a window. Maybe it has scalloped edges. And then you pick the color. And every decision that you make will sort of give people this overall impression. So this is a grease resistant box. And you can see just how I did that. It opens up. Now there are not a ton of websites that have these boxes, but they actually don't allow the fat from the cookies to transfer onto the paper. They have a nice clasp and they come in silver and gold, and they're very shiny, which I think is fun, and the red. They also come in this amazing blue, really bright pink, and a bunch of other colors. Some of the websites sell 5 of these at a time, and they're more expensive, and some sell 50 at a time, and they're a lot less money. You can see based on how big I am, how big they are. So this is not a cookie box where you're going to have giant cookies or hundreds of cookies. You are going to look at what your cookie collection is, and you're going to want to keep it down to 6 to 8 different cookies, maybe with 3 confections and the rest being some type of cookie. And they're going to fit into that box. So you start looking at all of the different elements of the different types of cookies that you know and love, and you're going to just take a piece of paper and start writing down what you're thinking, and you're going to start to gather your thoughts. These cookie boxes are great. And this is what I tried one year and it didn't work. I love a craft box for bakery, okay? If you are going to use any boxes that are not pre-formed like that, you are going to want to bend them in both directions. And I know it sounds crazy, they won't stay closed. So a plain box like this, a bakery box, is not, in my opinion, the best choice for a cookie and confections box because it's very everyday. So if you can find something that's a little special, I would say go for it. And also, even if you line this with parchment, it gets greasy fingerprints on it like that. It's not grease resistant. So that is not something I would use. And the same goes for this. And you can see right here that this laid on a wood table and picked up some of the oil because I oil my wood tables. But when it's packaged, you know, it's very cute. These are not expensive. It's a scalloped window, which is great. I kind of like that it's a rectangle, but that's a no-go. So what you need to do is look for grease-resistant, lined, things like that. Okay, those are your boxes. Packaging is one of those things that's really expensive and it gets cheaper the higher amount that you buy. So it is challenging to find things for, you know, if you're just going to be doing 10 or whatever. If you can buy 50 at a cheaper rate and use them this year and then maybe finish them up next year, do that. These are from last year and, you know, I kept good care of them so they're not scratched. But this year, okay, so if I were doing cookies in, it's not that I'm boring, but my stickers and all of my logos are black and white. So I really like white with the black and white and then the sticker to hold it together. But if you pick a color, think about how your cookies and confections are going to look in it, and think about what dividers, what liners, what paper cups, what wrappers you're going to be using, and then are you going to cover the box with any kind of ribbon or bow or sticker. So I buy things like these little shopping bags. They're teeny tiny, out of craft. Don't use staples to close any of this because it's not food safe. But you can fold them and use a sticker, and this can actually go inside of your box. So you can layer in things in case you have something that you need to separate out because of this, you know, overwhelming smell, or it's messy, or you want to gather them. Let's say you have a bunch of toasted nuts or spiced nuts that you want to put into a little bag. I also buy those little bags in these little shopping bags, and this is the sort of thing that can be an add-on or tucked in depending on the kind of box that you buy. And then I have little bigger ones. And so I really like tucking things in, but you have to give them consideration to make sure that they're all going to look nice and going to fit. And then if you're going to do one of those old-fashioned cookies like a pecan finger or something where people just want all of one flavor, I love these bags. They're great because they are lined. And so they are grease resistant. They have a little window in the front. You can fill these up with caramelized popcorn, with cookies, with all kinds of things. And they come in all different kinds of sizes. If you just click around, you will find craft packaging. And you describe what you're looking for. Craft packaging with a scalloped edge or with a window, a bag, lined, unlined, whatever. And then I have these giant bags, which quite frankly, I don't even use that often because they're so humongous. But these are great even for putting in granola bars. I mean, think outside the box. A friend of mine designed these wonderful food parchments, waxy, and they've got the cookie and milk on, and so cute. And she's not making these anymore. What you're looking for are food safe papers that you can line or collect your food goods with that are food safe. And I don't like doing anything that's messy, so I recommend getting some kind of tool, anything. You can use a bowl scraper, a knife, anything, to keep your edges really clean. Aren't they cute? Popcorn, caramelized popcorn. You know, again, tonight we are thinking outside the box. We are thinking, I don't need to just do cookies. I don't need to just do anything that I've done in the past. I am allowed to think outside the box and think of things that I enjoy, that when I travel, I buy them. You know, maybe you'll do a caramel popcorn and some sort of seasoned one, but you need to keep it separate from your sweet stuff. Maybe instead of doing all sweets, you'll do a savory box this year. Wouldn't that be really cool? I mean, I think that's a really great idea. I keep these rolling papers, but they're rolling papers for rolling caramels. You can use rolling papers for caramel, actually. What you can't use, you can use to wrap caramels in anything sticky, nougat, any candy. Wax paper is fine, and you have to use caramel wrappers, and there's actually a website that's basically caramel wrappers, and they do paper ones, but don't use just parchment. It will stick. I don't know if you knew that. So I personally like these clear caramel wrappers. They're very good for wrapping up tight, and I wrap and cut everything small enough to fit in here, so it's just 2 bites. One of my kind of ideas, rules, and for petit fours, it's typically that things are 2 bites, not 5. That's why a macaron shouldn't be huge. It should just be 2 bites. So I like buying these, and you can buy them in like 500 a piece and keep them stored this way. And then I have, it looks like these are paper, and I like paper for wrapping caramel. It's a different look. And then I have these parchment squares, which are not like regular parchment. They're brown, so they're caramel wrapper parchments. And this way they don't stick, because the last thing you want to have happen is that your parchment or your paper sticks to everything. When people are eating it, they can't get it off. So that's terrible. So I keep in a little box all of my caramel wrapping papers, and I have lots of videos on making my caramels, but that is the confection side of the cookie confection box. And then I buy these gloves on Amazon, and I highly recommend that once you have baked your cookies, that you respect the process and the people you are giving this to. Wash your hands first, dry them completely, put gloves on, and then don't touch or do anything else except handle the cookies. Now, when you are boxing and bagging, I often just have a glove on one hand, and then this hand is the one that I use to pick up the bags or the boxes so that I don't get powdered sugar or cocoa powder or any food on this one to keep it clean. But anytime this gets contaminated, you have to take it off, wash your hand, and change. But these are available online. I have an extra small hand. Get the size that fits you. They should last you quite a while. So you want to make sure that if you have a latex allergy that you're using, these are non-latex. And if you're having anyone help you, make sure that you don't get latex if you have any latex allergies. All right, so then this is next. So I love bags. This is what I need to tell you, because you'd be surprised at how many people are bakers and who are in the industry and don't really know much about packaging, okay? These are some words that you're gonna look at. They're gonna help you understand what you're looking for. First of all, this is poly bag. Poly comes in different weights. So I like a lighter weight because I don't like it to be super stiff if I'm going to be closing it with a tie or a ribbon. If it's really stiff, that's kind of good for folding over like that and putting a sticker on or something. But for this, I like a lightweight. And then this is the front and this is the back. I worked at a bakery and this very senior person had put all the cookies, took all the time to wrap the cookies up, after they'd been decorated, beautiful cookies, and the seam was in the front. So there is a seam on how they lock it and then a front. The other thing, there are gussets or flat bags. This is a gusset, okay? The gusset is this pleat at the bottom. It's a pleat that makes it wider. So you can fill this up with a popcorn ball or nuts or whatever you want, and you can either tie it with a ribbon or you can fold it neatly, and these come in different widths and heights. So you can get them really long and tall. You can cut them if you get really long ones, so you can multi-purpose them. Sometimes I'll tie something up and then I'll cut the top off to make it the right height and make it look better. But that's one kind of bag. And then let me show you, here's the seam. You can see the seam on the back, and that's the front. And these are the bags that I like for my really fancy, large decorated cookies that I do. And they are flat. There's no pleat right there. That's a flat bag. And these are lighter weight plastic, so you can absolutely tie them if you like. But with this style, I tend to like to fold it over and put a really nice sticker on there, okay? Kind of like that. So this is a little stiffer than this one, and you can feel the difference. And the more you order these, the more you become familiar with the different styles. And here's an example of a longer, bigger one. This has a pleat, which is called a gusset. So I could fill this up. You can tie this. This is a poly bag. This has a gusset. So again, if you want to fill this up and it only comes to here and you put your ribbon on, you can cut this off. Packaging is not something that you just don't think about. If you have spent all this time and money coming up with a confections and cookie box, and then you're just gonna willy-nilly throw it in without a plan, or you're gonna be messy and get sticky stuff all over the top, or put the front and the back and the front, then you've just undid all your work. So it's important to know what you're buying and how to use them. So I don't have a ton. I tend to, and you know what I don't have tonight that I wanted to show you that I think I want to order? I want to order a gusset variety that's about half this size and half this tall. That way I can put little things in there. So let's say you have all like vanilla and almond and whatever, and then you have one cookie that has like an anise cookie or something that's really rosemary or savory. You can lock it into a bag, but I need to order some smaller ones. I believe that when you are loading up and doing your, and we'll get back to talking about what goes in these, but just so you know where we're headed, because once you decide what you're gonna make, it's go time when you start putting them in these boxes, and you have to think like factory assembly line. You do all of one cookie into the box, and then you do all the next cookie into the box. If you're adding the little paper muffin cups as dividers, those you would walk around and do all your boxes in one thing and then do the same thing. The same goes for when you're loading a bag. You're gonna pull these out and you are gonna put your cookie in there and just place it down. And then you're gonna do the same thing, loading it until you have all 50 of your cookies loaded. And then you're going to tie each one individually. And when you tie your bows, I recommend you go watch YouTube. There are a lot of ways to tie bows. It is not just a throwaway task. You have to know how to cut your ribbon, how to tie it so it looks pretty. And the way that it gets tied depends on how everything looks. So if you just crinkle it up and do this, or if you really think about it, and if you watch my videos, I show you how careful I am. And the way that you tie something and the tension of the knot and the direction that it helps the way that everything lies. And when it looks pretty is when you go into a fancy food store and everything looks really pretty, that's because they know how to do packaging. So what you want to do between now and when you start putting all of this into practice, it's all in your mind right now, and you're going to start taking notes. And you're going to start dreaming outside the box about all the cookies and things that you've done in the past. You're gonna let your ego go, and you're gonna tell yourself, like, I'm gonna do something new. And you're gonna start opening up your eyes and looking around for ideas. Every store you go into, every magazine, every website that you see, check out how they package it. How tight is it? How far up is the ribbon? How poofy is it? How do they get it to stand up and look pretty? How do you tuck it in to a basket to make it look nice? So I don't know if you'll be selling things at farmers markets or holiday markets, or you have an online shop, but those things matter. And the more you know about it, the better they'll look when you go to photograph them. And then when you give them to people, the bags will be clean. It'll look perfect. They'll think that you bought it and it'll be from you. And that will really help give people some security when they eat it. They don't have to worry about it being unsafe. This is my most fun thing in the world, are my stickers. And I started out ordering from, I don't even know who these are from. Not expensive. But nowadays, if you have a JPEG, this is my name, M. Kathleen Meisinger, with these. And this is, I mean, these were cheap. So I just went online and Googled and found a place. So you can peel this off, and you can put stickers on before you package, but I would personally wait. That would be my advice. And let's say I wrote on here, using a non-spreading, non-smushing, what do you call that? Sharpie. This is very, very thin. I would write what it is, maybe the date, or note, and I can just stick that on the bag. That's a very quick solution for labeling sometimes. Let's see what else I have. I also just bought these, and they're pre-made. You can get them at like Staples, and this one is clear. These are inexpensive. So I could write on here with a thin Sharpie and just put this onto a bag, and whatever I want on there, the date, the name of the pastry, or whatever could be on there. Again, I love craft. I think it looks great. I don't think it looks cheap. And I think when you stick with a color palette, which can just change seasonally or for the occasion, craft is a nice thing to tie everything together. I mean, these were from Michael's, and they are just, they've got a little bit of jute rope and a little bit of the tag, so I can write on there and I can hang it on a bag or whatever, always available. And then I had these printed. I love the black and white because I can do it with white or craft or whatever, and it's part of my look. But here's my name, and it's just on a little black sticker. So I can throw this onto something so they know who it came from. Inexpensive. You don't need custom, because I'm going to show you mine. They're custom, and they were expensive. But I waited years to order them. I had to wait. And these are some of my name, sort of a monogram. But see how they're shiny? So I don't mind shiny stickers, but if you're going to get matte, which is like not shiny, it's a flat finish, they tend to be really expensive, just so you know, if you're picking out stickers. And then this one came from Moo. Are you guys familiar with Moo? It's a really cute website. And I had these little itty bitty, the practice of pastry stickers made. And I love matchbooks. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. From Moo Stickers, these are reasonably priced. They do a great job, super fast turnaround. But here are my fancy ones. So this is my favorite, but it's small. These are little, but that's just something I can pop on. It helps me lock a box, and they're a matte finish. And these are from Lightning Labels, but I ordered a lot, so I have a couple boxes. This is a little bit bigger. It says the practice of pastry, and I can write on here. Okay, so then these are my next favorite. So this is a cake. It says the practice of pastry. I just love it. And I can write on here. So this isn't just something I can put on packaging. This is something I can, you know, if you think about the inside of a box, you can take tissue and wrap everything and then close it with a sticker like this. It looks very nice. And then here's my favorite. These are my favorite. It says the practice of pastry, and it has those same flowers with a little bit over there. I mean, could you die? It's my favorite sticker. So then I can write on here if I want. I can make a little note, but I try to think very simply, pick a color and stick with it. And the reason I like the white and black is because I could literally, if I wanted to, take these graphics and just drop in color. So I think starting with the black and white really works. So I really like that. And then here's my last tip about the packaging. Yeah, black and white is really easy, and I do this with my home too. I believe that the backdrop should be, and I've said this, the wood, copper, white, and I have cheap stuff that's white, and I have expensive stuff that's white, and I like glass. Then for color, I add more inexpensive trendy things in a pop of blue, a pop of green, or a pop of pink. Those are my favorite colors, and the black and the camel and the white, the cream and the browns, they just all tie together. Whatever your color palette is, whether it's gem tones or really vivid colors. So that's kind of how I think. And that way, when I go out and about and I'm at Michael's or I run into a craft store, I'm online, I don't get overwhelmed, because you should be paying attention to what's going inside the box and let the outside just be clean, well thought out, very tidy, and well executed, and good construction, doesn't leak, does its job, it protects what's inside, but it's elegant and simple. So you don't need to buy boxes that have pre-printed stuff on them or whatever. You can let the simplicity speak for you. Now this is the extent of my ribbon collection. And I decided this a long time ago. This really is, right here. Red, brown, and this is a brown paper ribbon. This is paper, okay? And then I use kitchen twine. I love it. I love the color. So these are like a satin ribbon, and if you have a commercial florist in your area who allows the public to come in, I buy just 2 sizes, and these work wonderfully. The thinner one is great when I'm wrapping a bag, and this is 5/8 of an inch. But this thicker one is elegant and lovely. It's really great for wrapping a box. And there is a certain way of wrapping the box and tying it to those bows that you go gaga over. But this is a 1.5 inch width. This is like flame retardant because it's made for the floral industry, which I love. And they have tons of different reds. This just happens to be my favorite red. My cookie's red, brown looks good with it. If my cookie's blue, brown looks good with it. If my cookie's all white and I feel like using red, the white and the red look together. So it's like a way to tie things together. And then this is one of my favorite ribbons of all time. It's from a company in Milwaukee called Cream City Ribbon. And I don't know how they recycle whatever. But this is the ribbon, and it's made out of paper. And what you do is you tear it a little bit or a lot, and I actually have a tool to make this go really fast. When I did my Neiman Marcus apples, every single apple got one of these. And then you take, not the sharp part of your scissor, but the back side, and it just does this. I gave myself a paper cut one time, but I'm really careful. But it's really, really great. And I would love, they have stripes and checks and all colors, and you can do custom stuff. But I think this is really pretty, and it is a unique type of ribbon. So that's my ribbon collection. I keep it simple. I don't end up with a bunch of bits. And I don't like buying ribbon from Michael's. When you get 2 or 3 yards, you're done with it like 2 seconds. It doesn't even get you anywhere. And this whole thing, just for frame of reference, at retail, at a wholesale place, but for retail was, I think it was $17.95. Yeah, $17.95. And this is a double-faced satin, 50 yards. So look around your community, see what you've got locally, pick 2 colors and stick with them. Have them be your signature, and I just think these are good. What I want you to do is have a little skin in the game. This is the time not to think about what recipe you're doing or about what cookie you're doing, but about what has really grabbed your attention. So you're going to want to just Google things or look at stuff in the design world that grabs your attention. What are trending color combinations? What are trending features? Even in fashion, the draping. Are things voluminous or are they very tailored? What appeals to you? And then stick with that one aesthetic and let all your decisions go based on that. I always relied heavily on the floral industry because that's how cakes came about in the Victorian era. Graphic arts and digital media is going to give you a lot of ideas. Start thinking about what you want, dream about what you want your box to look like, and treat it like a little competition with yourself. Can you outdo yourself from ever before and raise the bar? And again, I encourage you not to tell anyone what you're thinking or what you're doing. Just let it happen naturally, because I love not telling somebody I tried something or did something new. I like them coming to me and saying, "Are you that cake lady? I got a cake this year that was so incredible. I've never seen anything like it in my life." That's the kind of response you want from your cookie box. You don't want to tell people you did it. You want them to say, "Oh my gosh, I was at a friend's house and she pulled this cookie box out and you're the one who made it." Those are moments that kind of I live for. I know it's kind of cheesy, but it kind of tells you you're on the right track without seeking out compliments or handing your box to someone and saying, "It's really good. Oh, I'm so excited about it. Don't you love it?" Let them tell you and let them experience it. It's almost like if you tell them too much about it, it's like you're giving away the movie. And then they go to the movie and they're like, "I already knew the ending." So let people enjoy it. That's the whole thing, is the unboxing and the discovery and the reading of the menu card and parsing it out or eating it all at once or sharing it with people or deciding how you're going to consume it. That's the exciting part for the receiver. But right now we're in the exciting part for us is planning that moment, and we keep those people in mind. That's how you create something sensational. The 3 guiding principles of design are shape and form, texture, and color. Shape and form is thinking about the shape of your box, the shape of each individual item. How long is it? Narrow? Is it wide and tall? All of those things matter. So as you sketch them out, you can have all the same color, but then you have to have different shape. Same color, different texture. Shape and form are really important. Think about the softness, the sharpness of things, how they relate to one another, and odd numbers are best. My recommendation is when you add these things, either add 1 or 3 cookies. So if you're stacking 3, or if you're putting 3 in this way or something in a bag, do 3. And then if you have 1 signature on the top, it should just be 1, so it stands out. That's my recommendation. Using irregular textures and finishes is really exciting to humans. So when you have something that's crinkly or shiny or a matte finish or rough or smooth or bubbly or whatever, that's why popcorn is an interesting texture next to something that's really shiny and smooth. So think about that. And for color, it won't hurt to look at the color wheel and understand in relation to your main color what the secondary and tertiary colors are. And when you use a color, you want the complementary colors that go with it to be the same intensity. So if you're using an ice blue and you want to pair it with other colors that are complementary or tertiary, you want to keep it at the same intensity. You don't want one to be lighter and one to be darker. Those should be the same even if you're using different colors, and you should do 3. Or my favorite thing to do, all of one color. How cool to do the same tone. If you take the ice blue, like candy melts that you're gonna dip your cookie into, or you're gonna do royal icing, 1 color blue. You do 3, adding more white to lighten it out and more to lighten it again. So you have light, middle, and darker. So those are your 3 colors, all the same, but one lighter than the next. Continuity with difference, that's what you pair. You pair same with different, that creates interest, and stick with 3. That will keep things simple. 3 colors at the most, 3 textures, like 3. And then you want to think of volume. You want to think of your box or your bag, whatever it's going to be. And in your mind, you need to fill that box, and you need to think about the height of some and the flatness of others and how they relate to each other. So when you place them in the box, if something's tall and down low and then tall, maybe the tall thing goes toward the center, you're going to create an experience that when you open that box and you look down at it, it's going to have dimensions. It's very important. So as far as creativity goes, at this point, you guys are all in your creation stage. I don't want anyone thinking I'm pushing the holidays. I'm not. I'm pushing the fun part of the holidays, which is the planning and the thinking and the dreaming about what you're going to do. And it allows you some time, which is great. But when you think of this box, so I'm thinking of the Della Robbia, this is now giving me a format to come up with a design and think about how I want to execute the whole thing, color-wise, shape-wise, and actual, like, what are the things that are going to represent that? If I'm talking pears, oranges, apples, roses, grape bunches, purple and green, ivy, things like that, very rich. I could do it all in white too. I did a beautiful cake once that was Della Robbia, all white. Unbelievable. I can do swags. So these are all things that are informing what I'm going to do. Flavor and recipes will come later, but this is what I'm doing. So then what story does my box tell? Well, I love Della Robbia's. It reminds me of when I got started and my Neiman Marcus apple was such a success, and I was so excited to do these teeny tiny little pears and all this detail work with little dashes of gold luster dust, and it was rich and it tasted great and it looked beautiful next to the chocolate on the caramel apple. It was amazing. The aesthetic is so beautiful. It's rich at the holidays. It looks great next to white. And I have all these examples of how it's used, and I can Google Della Robbia. I can Google it, come up with all these ideas, and start to dial in the flavors to tell the story. So think about what you're interested in. What story does it tell? Maybe it's all citrus because you absolutely love citrus, or you move somewhere where that flavor is important to you and you build the things around you to tell that story. It's important to keep symbolism in mind, whether you're using certain kinds of colors or flowers or shapes. Symbolism has a lot to do with how we perceive these kinds of things, especially at the holidays, so definitely think about it. So then let's get into where I gather my ideas. And then we'll get into the specific cookies and exactly what we're going to do. So I talked a little bit in the past about my binders and how my students would make fun of me. But this is one binder, and it says seasons and hobbies, Valentine's Day, spring, ocean, tiered cake, bugs, animals, dogs, fall, and Halloween. Back in the day, we didn't have the internet, so everything was in a magazine. I swear 99% of these are from Martha Stewart. But what I like about it is this is just an urn with squash and stuff in it. But I can do all of this in the shape of a cake, a cookie, gum paste. It's a jumping off point. This is a gingerbread house made for Halloween. These are concepts and ideas that I can take if I want to use more black in my cookie box. If I want to make a cookie box that is all dark colors with contrasting really dark purple and like white, let's say, this is going to give me some ideas of texture, shape, and whatnot. Here's a bundt cake. You do 2 bundt cakes, turn them upside down, you have a little pumpkin. There's a lot of packaging. I would just rip all of these out, and I still go through these to this day, love. And I think about the paper, the packaging, how I can make my own stuff. And you guys are all so creative these days. You can use Canva, print out your own stuff. It's an amazing time. Here are party favors. Here's a clear box. Those are cookies just stacked in there. And this is just a monogram piece of paper in there. Clear box with a macaron. So you can buy these things and then go crazy. You could make, look at that. They're made out of origami, like really beautiful paper. Here are beautiful boxes. How this is tied with crinkle paper. There's a cone. So many crafty things are still available to us. You just have to get smart about finding the resources. I still really like fancy things like Dina DeLuca. This is like a marzipan fruit example. This is a médiante with the chocolate where you just put fruits and things. These are just ideas. So look at your food catalogs that are online. Look for inspiration. I don't care if it's Williams-Sonoma, Neiman Marcus, whatever, and save and cut and paste these photos into your some kind of folder on your computer and label them so that you can type in a holiday fruit or holiday packaging. So you can find these things as you come up to Halloween packaging, Valentine's Day ideas, things like that. This final one is all Christmas. So every year, I mean, I literally just pull these out and sit down. I leave them out actually on the table so when people come by, they can go through. These are all the gingerbread houses. Some of these are like, I think this is the Neiman Marcus one. There's like a $5,000. This is from Dylan's Candy Bar, and the kid can walk in there, and it costs $15,000. So that's inspirational, and that's what I do. And I love, see how the white icing on a dark gingerbread or chocolate background is so beautiful. I also like to get ideas that are not just typical holiday colors. Here's that pretty blue that I love, and this is a perfect execution of this color palette. And you can take your phone these days and take pictures of things, and it will tell you what the colors are and develop a palette for you. But look how everything's kind of pinky and camel, and how that contrast of light and dark and negative space is so important. But what you want to do is start to think about, how can I execute these things in an edible format? So we'll think about that as we start to get toward the cookies and the flavors. Love, love, love all of this. I have a wonderful collection of Christmas cake decorating, gingerbread house books, all these different books I've collected along the way. You find them at garage sales, resale shops, half-price books, really inexpensively. And I just get such great ideas from them, and I like to leave those out so that people can flip through them when they're here. But I encourage you, if you see anything like that, pick it up and start a collection. And you can do it for any holiday, not just Christmas. You can pick up these kinds of ideas and just keep them together as like a little display for whatever season. Because I'm talking about not just doing cookies, I'm talking about breaking into confections, which are a little bit scary if you haven't done a lot of them. Or if you have a recipe, and be honest, if you have a recipe, let's say it's fudge or it's something that everybody does or you've done it a million times, what if this year you try something new? And I recommend the Chocolate and Confections book. This is from the Culinary Institute of America. It's by Wiley Publishing, and it is in every single confectionery shop in the United States. I wonder how much of what we're eating at a lot of really nice confectionaries is from this book. And I know in Chicago, there's probably a lot of them. Back when the French pastry school was there, I saw this in a lot of places. But what's great about this book is you might need to buy an ingredient or two like liquid glucose or a thermometer, digital proper thermometer, so you can figure things out. But this book is going to give you options for making those things that you've always been curious about. Divinity, honeycomb candy, how to properly dip real chocolate, because candy melts and chocolate are different. I personally can recommend the soft caramel recipe. I love the marshmallow recipe. So this is an excellent resource. So those are the ways that have nothing to do with the recipe that get me excited. And you want to just start writing down all of these ideas and what you're going to do. The last thing I'm going to say is you need a really good pair of scissors in order to cut your ribbon really, really clean. And so make sure that you either sharpen the ones you have or you have a good pair. Now we're getting into timing. I begin to make my Stollen and my fruitcake right after Thanksgiving because it needs weeks to rest. It has to age. So if you get all your pre-planning done between now and when you got to get started for Thanksgiving, if you're doing this as a business or you're just doing it for fun, you will be ready to go and you will be ahead of the game. And especially if you're selling things, okay? So if you do the timing the week before Thanksgiving, this is great for corporate giving. It's great because it's not tied to one holiday and it's at the very beginning of the whole season. If you give these away or sell them before Thanksgiving, it's great for Friendsgiving, teacher gifts, and business thank yous. That's really great. It builds in time that if you run out, that you can do a restock, which is great. You have all this time in front of you where you've already done the bulk of your business. I think that's kind of cool. If you choose to do something before Thanksgiving, it kind of shows that you can get something done, that you're organized and that you're ahead of the game. And that might be really nice as people are making their decisions about who to buy from, where to spend their money, and they see that you can deliver. So it's a good marketing tool to get the jump on everyone else who's selling stuff after Thanksgiving. Just an idea. Thanksgiving weekend is great to put this out because it drives sales. If you're selling them, it drives online sales. And it gives you a really nice shipping window. So even if you're just doing this for friends and family, if you aim to get this all done the weekend after Thanksgiving right away, you can get those in the mail and get them to people and you're kind of done. So that's good. And then people can enjoy these throughout the whole month. I personally get things on Christmas Day or the week of, and I'm almost kind of done eating at that point. So I really like getting them when I'm still like in an eating mood and I'm not feeling guilty about anything. I really do like that cookies and confections read as, you know, non-denominational. They're just a nice gift that kind of fits in for everybody. So doing it before or at Thanksgiving kind of aligns with that system. And then if you're looking at getting this all done and ready to go in early December, I think that's great for local pickups, holiday events, school events, gift exchanges, bake sales, all that kind of stuff. So the first week of December is a great time to get a jump on these things. It's a neutral message and it's inclusive to all the faiths and celebrations during the month, which is really nice. And then it allows for a second wave of giving later in the month if you want to, which I think is great. Mid to late December is more Christmas specific, which is great for a lot of people. It's also good for last minute gift giving. So as you get toward Christmas, if you're selling or if you are finding yourself like, ooh, I missed 10 to 20 people, it might be kind of a fun exercise to do to fill in those gaps and get those people what they need. Because I absolutely love these for the mail person, whoever does anything around your house. I don't have anyone like that, but whoever's working on your house, your yard, as long as they're good. No one wants your junk. They want the best effort and they want it to be really, really good. Okay, so mid to late December is less inclusive for people who don't celebrate Christmas. They might have liked it tied to just the month or maybe the winter solstice, but that's all personal and that's for you to figure out. But there's nothing wrong with doing this later in the month and giving it then. My favorite timing is right after Thanksgiving. It includes the entire holiday season. It's a whole season long of enjoyment. It frees up time for the rest of the month. And I ride that holiday momentum before I get burned out, which is great because this does take a bit of a concerted effort. So your color palettes could be neutral. I talked about craft and white and twine. They can be vivid, which I love, that apple green with pinks and reds. It's kind of modern. I love seasonal, where you get your winter colors and Christmas colors, you know, your dark reds and your spruce greens. And then I love, for non-secular stuff, I love the ice blue, white, black, and chocolate brown. I think that those read really nicely with food. And a lot of these cookies and confections are meant to be so visually stimulating that it can be calming when you use those types of colors. Think outside the box. Don't just go with a plastic Tupperware container that's got a bunch of holiday stuff printed on it. Simple, clean, not something necessarily that you want people to reuse. I mean, maybe, but something they can recycle, compost. So when you're closing your box or your bag or whatever you're doing, you can use a plain sticker. It doesn't need to be monogrammed. It doesn't need to be custom or have anything on it. It could just be a dot that's a color or a foil or just white or whatever that holds it together and makes it look clean. But I highly recommend, even if your box has a latch, locking it with some kind of sticker closure for safety. And I think it looks good and gives people a little comfort. I think that you should take the time to make a label card for your box. And that can go either on the lid of the box, it can go underneath, it can go inside, it can go wherever you want it to go. But remember that any of the fat that's in the cookies or the confections can transfer to that piece of paper, so it's gonna mess it up. So whatever you're using to write those on or print them out, make sure that it's grease resistant and it can go near your food. These are my rules for the menu card. You just need 2 or 3 words per ingredient, per cookie. You could just say shortbread cookie, or you could say vanilla bean or Tahitian vanilla bean shortbread. That's cool, but keep it short. Left aligned is kind of nice. It's nice to have a clean sans serif type that's got a lot of white space, so just really nice and clean. And I don't see why you shouldn't put a QR code on there, especially if you're just printing them out on your home printer or whatever. And that can bring people to your social media. It can bring them to a video or a link that shows them how to handle their cookies. Should it go in the refrigerator or stay on the countertop? Which confections should be eaten right away and which can last longer. So that's kind of fun. I think that's really fun. And then I would absolutely recommend that you include a notable ingredient list for allergens and to keep people safe. And if you want, you can tell the story of what your origin for this cookie and confection box is. You can tell a story briefly, a childhood story, a memory, something that makes people tied immediately to your box. Is this a cookie that is an heirloom from your grandmother that everyone in your family has made for hundreds of years? I would love to know that. Is it something from your home country? Does it include an ingredient that you can't get in the United States or where you live and that you got it from someplace else? Like, let me know. I want to know. I think that's really cool. And the personal note should be very minimal. It should be factual, maybe have a use by date or how to store. And you can print them or have them be handwritten. On my notes from Substack, I put a bunch of stuff for this cookie and confections box, which is top holiday cookie picks and the least liked cookie picks, okay? And I base this all on percentages of win. So for people who really don't like a cookie, it kind of tends to be 20 to 30% of the people like it, no one else does. So you want something that's a 95% most people like it. And they're all the same players, but you're looking at visual variety, shelf life, texture and flavor variety, and sometimes the cookies are familiar and comforting. That's why they're top holiday picks. Shortbread cookies, snickerdoodles, Italian cookies, things like that. So here's where we get into the planning. This is when we get into the recipes. So right away, you need to think about how many boxes am I willing to do? Make a list, name your people. And if you're going to sell something, you need to come up with an idea of how many are you capable of making? Set a limit. How many flavors you're going to put in each box. Go to the formulator, put your recipe in there, and change the yield to meet the desired weight. You can only do that if your recipes are in grams. It's the only way to scale up and down. If you are using cups, tablespoons, and teaspoons, as you move these numbers around, your cookies are gonna go wacky. And you don't want that, especially when you're trying to dial in something beautiful, and especially with how expensive ingredients are. How to curate the recipes. You want to look at balance. Cookies with confections. I would do maybe 5 cookies and 3 confections, but you come up with the ratio that you want to do. and you want it to be, some of them of your cookies are perfect and others are intentionally imperfect. Maybe they're rustic and others are very perfect. I do 6 to 8 different cookies or confections. That reduces the clutter, keeps it visually appealing, and it makes it so that they fit, and that's really all you need to be doing. You'll go crazy if you do more than that. Also, when you're eating them, it leads to flavor fatigue. So if you've just got a lot of different stuff, they all start to taste the same. So I think it's good to limit. You want to start with 1 to 2 flavor profiles and have those flavor profiles go across the entire project. And I'm talking sweet, sour, bitter, salty, or umami. So those are your 2 things that you're going to repeat, and then everything else can be different. So just think about what impression you want to push. That's a beginning point. And then you want to use ingredients that connect across the whole box. So I'm thinking, for some reason, I've never done a lemon flavored anything or a citrus flavor in a box like this. But if I were to do a lemon pâte de fouille or a candied lemon zest, I might start thinking about, ooh, that introduces yellow, that introduces citrus, so maybe I'll do orange. Or maybe I'll do some Grand Marnier, or what goes well with those things, and start to pair based on that one idea. And then your texture progression should be that as you're eating through the box, one plays off of the next. And that's kind of how flavor goes as well. So if you eat something sort of crunchy or chewy, the next thing you eat might be lighter on the tooth or very delicate. So think about how that progression is going to work throughout the box. And then you want to come up with one signature piece. And that could be your wow. That could be the one pastry application that you are so good at that you're gonna show off and you're gonna show everybody. That's great. Maybe you can make pâte de fouille or a really nice caramel or whatever it is, you do that one thing. But that one signature item that is yours and you're proud of, and it should stand out. Rarity is a good thing. That signature item should be something that's rare, something that people don't get all the time, something you only make once a year, those sorts of things. And then you're going to build the box, and you're going to look at texture first. Crispiness, chewiness, meltiness, crunchiness, and lift. Then you're going to go into flavor and color and other things. Let me give you some ideas for some recipes. Just ideas, and I've been working on this now for a while, but when you look at crisp, delicate crisp falls into the Florentine and the Tuile group. That's kind of cool. Chewy is a contrast and comforting. A ginger molasses cookie, my pinched almond cookie, maybe a soft granola bar done in a really narrow, long bar. Caramels, nougat, Turkish delight, or taffy would be kind of fun. Something that melts in your mouth that balances sweetness. Maybe it's a little more bitter or has a little saltiness. Toffee, shortbread, brittle, or a mint, the pillow mints that melt on your tongue. You can make those using this confections book. Crunch can add rhythm and variety. Candied nuts, biscotti, sponge candy, things like that. And lift lightens the density of the box. So we're talking marshmallows, like meringue cookies, which you can pipe. So those are very quick. And you can also do those with a stripe of food coloring. So you can get any color you want. You can make them really pretty. And then divinity, which I've never made, which I'm dying to make. So with flavor, you want to go through your spice, nut, vanilla, chocolate, fruit, and citruses. And these are some ideas. You could put a whole vanilla bean into your box at the top. That looks very pretty. Or a whole cinnamon stick tucked in. Or a cinnamon ornament, which you make with leftover cinnamon. It's not edible, but it's specifically made and gifted for the scent of cinnamon and to go in your box. Nuts are things like making a turtle, which is really fun if you've never made turtles. I love it. Rocher, pralines, which I love, and caramelized hazelnuts, which are beautiful. For the vanilla, I put in the butter tablet because I absolutely love it, and I'd love to make it again. I love the color. And for chocolate, I love my handmade truffles with my caramelized chocolate ganache and médiance, because médiance are just a glob of chocolate. You can just on parchment, tempered chocolate, and put your toasted nuts or your dried fruits in colors that you like and just sprinkle them on, and they firm up and they're beautiful, and you have lots of options. Love that. And then for fruit, I want to make a pâte de fouille this year. I haven't made it in years, and I would think about what flavor and what color do I want to do and how do I want to cut them. And for citrus, I definitely would like to make some candied citrus. Haven't done it in a long time. And then for color, You can add color through your dough, inclusions, roll-ins, icing. So for the dough, think slice and bake, checkerboard cookies or the bullseye kind, or pinwheels. You can do red, chocolate, pinks. You can do variations of creamy colors and they all look beautiful. And I highly recommend that for adding color and interest. Inclusions meaning dried fruit. If you want red, cranberries and cherries. You want green, pistachios maybe. You want white, when you slice things into C, almonds and macadamia nuts. And there are many others. Orange and yellow can be a hue that you're trying to make more dramatic. Golden raisins, dried apricots, and candied ginger can give you that effect. Very pretty, rich, warm. And then for roll-ins, what I mean is right before you bake something, rolling it in raw sugar, demerara sugar, or crushed peppermint candies. That adds texture and color that will read in the box, and it's a really great way to add something a little bit different. I love diamants, basically a French word for a shortbread cookie. They're supposed to look like diamonds, so you roll them in shiny disco sugar, and they're really pretty. And then for icing, obviously, you can make royal icing, you can do candy coating, or I buy a bucket of roll icing. It's called roll icing, donut icing. It's what they use in commercial operations. It's delicious. And the key to these cookies is you need to be able to stack them. So you cannot use buttercream or things that do not firm up enough to be smushed. We are getting there. All right, so you want to look at shelf life. 1 or 2 things can be something that needs to be eaten immediately. I don't think anything should go in the fridge, and it should all last at least a week. And then here's where I get into what can be really fun. So I always do a decorative piece. So what I am recommending that you do is either with marzipan or gum paste or chocolate is that you make a little item that is a little add-in. Please don't throw foiled candy in there as a filler or nuts as a filler, anything sloppy. You want everything to be intentional. So if you were going to buy some or make some marzipan, you could make a little pine cone with just snips of little scissors. An acorn, really easy to make and really fun. You can make pears, apples, and oranges, which is what I'm going to be making. If you buy gum paste, you can buy it pre-colored, or you can use food coloring to color what you have. Some gum paste flowers are very accessible. They are not hard to make. And I'm talking, you can make a chrysanthemum with a daisy cutter. If you have daisy cookie cutters, you can make a chrysanthemum. Roses are pretty easy to make. Winter berries are beautiful. Amaryllis is more challenging, but absolutely beautiful. Holly berries and holly leaves, super easy. Super easy. You do need a holly cutter, but nothing easier. And so fun, and they look so cute. And then mistletoe. And then if you want to make a seasonal bauble, you could make little ornaments out of gum paste or little toys. Then if you're going to work with chocolate, you can watch videos of how to just make twigs really quickly, or you could do a chocolate coin, which would be really nice. And then your top piece that's going to go and be your signature showstopper before you close that box up. So when they open it, there's gonna be this one beautiful thing. It can be, if you're doing a cookie, an envelope, snowflake, a tree, a star, or it can be a bookmark style. And they're narrow, so it might fit into the box really nice being a narrow rectangle. And then remember that your cookies, some are going to stack this way, 1, 2, 3. Some are going to stack this way, 1, 2, 3 on their sides. Some are going to mound softly, and they're all different. And before you start putting them in the box, because once you start placing things, your box is going to start to get dirty. The more you touch it, the more smudges it's going to get on it. Same with the bags. So you need to think about how you're going to do and practice it on your table and see how they stack up, how they rest. And when you put them in the box, you should be creating interest as well, texture and color, light and dark around, so they're not all done in a way that's not thoughtful. So I would either alternate or think about maybe I want all this color on this side and all that. Design it. You want to think about that. In terms of avoiding pitfalls, if this project is going to add this element to your life, don't do it. It's not worth it. You can simplify it. You could not do 8. You could do 1. You could do 3. But you want to plan. It's very important that you plan. I use legal pads. I would just use one legal pad, and this would become my cookie thing. And I just, every thought, I don't think about it. I just write it down. I don't have to like file it or do anything. It's just there. Recipes, you want to gather them. You want to either print them get them into a PDF format, scan them, download them, and you want to get them into a file on your computer. So you need to have those gathered somewhere, and then you need to convert them. Convert them into your grams, find out what your yield needs to be, do the math for how much you need of all your different ingredients, and then you need to go to the store and get everything that you need. Do your inventory of what spices you have and ingredients you have and what you don't have, and then you need to place your order. And as we get closer, that's why planning all this before Thanksgiving is going to help. Because if you wait until after Thanksgiving and you want to start ordering dried fruit and things that are hard to get hold of, you are going to pay more in shipping and it's going to possibly be delayed, which is going to put you off your schedule. When you are looking at your recipes, you want to read through all of them, even if you think you remember, and you want to map out how they're made and at what point you want to highlight that it can be put in the freezer or this can be made and stored. There's a lot you can do in the freezer. The only caveat I have for the freezer is I don't believe in baking cookies and then putting them in a freezer, not a home freezer. They will taste like your refrigerator. So this is a production schedule and this is something that you can make. And it's just common sense, and it's what you want to do. It's not, there's no rule to it. The refrigerator is for resting dough and it's for holding some things, but it is not for storing baked goods or many, many things that you make. So just be really careful how you use the refrigerator. So then you're going to need to order your supplies, your ingredients, packaging, gloves, labels, and note cards. You can divide all of these tasks into manageable jobs and parse them out over time. Making labels, scaling ingredients one day, organizing your recipes onto trays with their recipe printed out with them so you're ready to go. Having make ahead things like dough, cutouts, icing, and components that you can do all in advance. Be very careful who you ask for help, but ask for qualified help, especially for packing the boxes, labeling, and for cleanout. Kids can be really helpful depending on the job you give them. This is not the time to experiment. Don't try a recipe you've never tried before, and don't go changing things at the last minute. Just keep remembering that the goal is consistency and good product and keeping yourself stress-free. So don't add new stuff at the end. All right, so step outside your comfort zone. Let all of the old ideas go. Come with the fresh ideas. You do not have to include anything that you do not want to include. I don't care if everyone's like, yo, you didn't do your one thing, and you're like, I don't even like that cookie. I'm sick of making it, and I don't want to make it anymore. Just make the break. You don't owe anybody anything. This is a gift. So unless it's something for customers and it's a staple in your saleable items, it's your box. You get to do what you want to do and you get to tell your own story. So feel some freedom in that. Look at this whole thing with fresh eyes. So I guess that's it. That is how you approach and plan and think about the best cookie and confection box you have ever made in your entire life. And I kid you not, this will translate to excitement and to people really feeling and seeing you in a way that's just really, really fun. I'm all about telling you how to make things easier. Nothing about what I said is to make things more complicated. When people bake, when they don't want to bake and when they're not into it, you can taste it. So if you're sick of it, you're over it, and you're sick and tired of doing thumbprint cookies, don't do them. We can taste it. Move on. Do something new. Do something fresh. Isn't it fun to know that I am not asking you to do more work? I am just saying enjoy the process more. It's so fun to dream about this box. I can't even tell you. I'm excited. I got myself excited. Excite yourself. Get excited. Do something new. Challenge yourself. Don't just look at anything that you do as boring. Everything is, I think everything is exciting. All right, everybody, good night. Good night, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all of you. Thanks, have a good night. Have a good one. You guys are the best. POPers.